The former U.S. ambassador to Russia says Vladimir Putin believes it's his sacred destiny to right the wrongs of the end of the Cold War, that American imperialism divided the former Soviet republics that he believes and pushed Ukraine to limit cooperation with Russia. It's a revisionist version of history from Putin, no doubt. But Ambassador Michael McFaul says Putin believes U.S. support of emerging democracies is a direct threat to Russia. Think the Arab Spring, Georgia, two separate uprisings in Ukraine, most recently in 2014. Color revolutions, Putin calls them. A democratic Ukraine to Vladimir Putin is intolerable. So how to stop him from invading? What to say in the Putin-Biden phone call tomorrow morning? McFaul says threaten to hurt Putin economically, politically, and otherwise, and offer real negotiations. Go big. He wrote today Biden should seize the diplomatic offensive and counter with a comprehensive grand bargain for enhancing European security. Call it Helsinki 2.0. Michael McFaul joins us now, ambassador to Russia 2012 to 2014, in the room when then Vice President Biden met with Putin 11 years ago. Ambassador, thanks so much. First, President Putin believes he's called by God, you've said. Expand on that first, if you would.
Well, President Putin's become a very religious figure over the last 20 years. He didn't start that way, but he's become more religious. He thinks that his mission in the world is a sacred one, that he is doing this to right the wrongs, as you rightly summarized. Thank you for that summary. That was fantastic. Some of the things I've written. And that's, I think, important for Westerners and Americans to understand. He's not calculating the cost-benefit analysis of this. How is it going to affect the Russian stock market next week? He thinks he's playing for a much bigger game, and that makes it hard. When you're dealing with an ideologically motivated leader who has a lot of power, makes it hard to negotiate with him.
So bottom line, tomorrow when President Biden speaks to President Putin, you say he should lay out the consequences of war, then go big on negotiations. So what's on the table? Curtailing NATO expansion? What?
No, that is not on the table. At least it wouldn't be if I were writing the talking points for the president. It's a job I used to do for President Obama. I think of it a different way. One, on the coercive side, the president needs to be crystal clear of the financial costs, the economic costs of a military intervention. I'm sure he said that to Putin before. He needs to say it again. And at the same time, this is called coercive diplomacy, right? At the same time, he should offer a comprehensive strategy and game plan and opportunity to negotiate about European security issues. Because on some of those issues, not NATO expansion, that's off the table. That's 100% off the table. Putin does not have a veto over what the NATO alliance does, and he doesn't have a veto over what Ukraine chooses to do to enhance its security. But on some other issues, we could negotiate. For instance, let's pull all our troops back. Let's pull them farther away from the border between NATO and Russia. And then let's have a verification mechanism to check that we do that. We built up a big security set of treaties and institutions. It started with Helsinki in 1975 and then built for about 15 years, and it made Europe secure. That has frayed, and that, I think, is something we could talk seriously about with Putin if he really wants to negotiate, something about which I'm not sure he does.
So Putin masses 130,000 troops, and we go, okay, what do you want? What can we change? It's more nuanced than that.
It's way more nuanced than that. So the main thing that he wants, that he outlined in his his treaties, and by the way, this is an odd way to negotiate. Usually treaties are made public after they're negotiated, not beginning. So he just wrote them himself, and then he mailed one to NATO, he mailed one to Washington, and he said, sign at the bottom line. So that's very irregular. But one of the things he said in there is completely, it's a non-starter. NATO is not going to close its door. Another one, non-starter, they're going to move back to the 1997 borders of NATO. That's a non-starter. But if we get it past the non-starters, and by the way, let's be honest, sometimes negotiations start with maximalist positions, right? All kinds of negotiations start that way. But if we can set those aside, then we could talk about, I think, much more practical, concrete things in a reciprocal basis, right? It has to be win-win for all sides that could enhance security.
Unless he decides, or has already decided, that he's going in, and then we just hope Americans get out. Ambassador McFaul, thank you.